Good afternoon and welcome to the May 13th regular meeting of the Community Development Commission of Chicago. I am Latasha Thomas, Vice Chairman of the CDC, serving as chair for today's meeting. In that chair, Ms. Butler's absence. Today's meeting is being held in City Hall, room 1103, and it's also being streamed by the Chicago Department of Planning and Development. The agenda for today's meeting was posted on May 9th, both on the CDC website and physically in City Hall. I will now call to order the May 13th meeting of the Community Development Commission with a roll call. Commissioners, when you hear your name, please respond by saying present. Please note that this vote will be used to establish the roll call vote for subsequent items. Chairwoman Hattie Butler. Vice Chair Latasha Thomas, present. Secretary Chan McKibben. Chair Boatwright.
Present.
Commissioner Buford. Absent. Commissioner Curtis. Absent. Commissioner Davis.
Present.
Commissioner Gomez.
Present.
Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Millsap.
Present.
Commissioner Saez.
Present.
Let the record reflect that Commissioner Chan McKibben is here and present. Thank you, commissioners. We have a quorum. At this time, we will begin the verbal public comment period of the meeting. Members of the public are able to submit written statements to the commission via email. There were no written statements from the public received by the Department of Planning and Development prior to the established deadline of 24 hours prior to this scheduled meeting. At this time, we will have a verbal public comment period of today's meeting. Speakers were able to sign up to speak prior to the meeting and will be called in order that they arrive. During this public comment period, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes to allow time for as many speakers as possible. We ask that each speaker keep their comments relevant to items on today's agenda. The first speaker that signed up today is Ms. Bonnie Sanchez Carlson. Please. Okay, we don't have a mic, but please speak loudly because our core reporter is on this side of the room. Please state your name before you start.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. My name is Bonnie Sanchez Carlson, and I am the president of the Near South Planning Board. We are a non-for-profit, community-based economic development organization serving the institution, stakeholders, and property owners on the Near South Side. This is in reference to the 2311 15 South State Street. Our organization and me in particular have been actively involved in reviewing plans for this various parcels of Southbridge, the former Icky Home public housing site. We have participated in numerous meetings and have shown our support throughout various stages. Near South Planning Board is pleased to lend its support for this next phase of development, which includes residential units being added for the benefit of the community and shall enhance the pedestrian experience in the area. While we wholeheartedly support this proposal, we are concerned about the lack of property for the site. And we have made recommendations to the developer to re-examine the overall parking demand and supply for the project to ensure adequate spaces available and to encourage the developer to review the Department of Transportation plans as well. And we given more recommendations about looking at rideshare, loading, unloading, delivery packages, and so forth. We appreciate the opportunity to review this plan and provide our comments. And we are in support and urge this commission to grant the authority to negotiate a land sale agreement with Southbridge and designate Southbridge IC Housing LLC as developer. I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez Carlson. Thank you for your comments today. Given there are no other speakers that have signed up to speak today, the public comment period of today's meeting is now over. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Johnson is here. Commissioners, the first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting held on February 11, 2025. The commissioners have had an opportunity to review the minutes, and if there are no corrections, I move passage of this item by the same roll call vote previously used to establish quorum. So moved. Thank you. No objections. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Chan McKibben has abstained from voting on this item. Hearing no further changes, the motion is approved. Okay. On the agenda, we have new business. Item A or 1 is the 24th Michigan Redevelopment Project area in Ward 3. Commissioners, for the first item of new business on today's agenda, the Department of Housing is requesting the commission to grant authority to the Department of Housing to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Southbridge 1C Housing LLC or a related entity for the redevelopment of the property located at 2311 to 2315 South State Street, also known as 3 to 5 East 23rd Street, in the 24th Michigan Redevelopment Project area, and for the commission to grant authority for the Department of Housing to negotiate a land sale agreement with Southbridge 1C Housing LLC or a related entity or entity acceptable to the Commissioner of Housing for the disposition of the property located at 2311 to 15 South State Street, also known as 3 to 5 East 23rd Street within the 24th Michigan Redevelopment Project area. And for the commission to recommend to the city council the designation of Southbridge 1C Housing LLC or a related entity as developer. Today, Joseph Lewis and Clement Okeke will provide a brief description of this request on behalf of the Department of Housing.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Thomas and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Joseph Lewis. I'm an assistant commissioner in the multifamily finance division of the Department of Housing. The proposed transaction before you requests authority for the Department of Housing to negotiate a redevelopment and land sale agreement with Southbridge 1C Housing LLC or a related entity for the redevelopment of the property located at 2311 to 2315 South State Street, also known as 3 to 5 East 23rd Street, in the 24th and Michigan redevelopment project area and to recommend to the city council the designation of Southbridge 1C Housing LLC or a related entity as developer. The project site is located in the far southwest portion of the near South Side community area on the city-owned property at 2311 to 15 South State Street. As mentioned, this location is in the 24th and Michigan TIF district and is also in the near South Side community area and central planning area of the city. The site's in the 3rd Ward and Alderwoman Pat Dowell supports this project. Next slide, please. The site is situated at the nexus of the Chinatown and South Loop neighborhoods. Approximately 1.5 miles south of the Central Business District and 3/4 of a mile west of Lake Michigan. McCormick Place is 3 blocks to the east. The Roosevelt Road Shopping and Entertainment District is 1.5 miles to the north. The shops and restaurants in Chinatown are approximately 1/2 mile to the west. The site is well served by public transit, being directly adjacent to the McCormick Place Green Line CTA station and several high-frequency CTA bus lines, as well as being walking distance from the nearest CTA Red Line station. Next slide, please. Except for the subject property and other undeveloped Southbridge sites, the surrounding neighborhood is urban and fully developed with a wide variety of land uses and considerable residential density. The city has owned the subject 3-parcel site since 1982, and it is vacant except for some electrical infrastructure that is permitted via an easement with ComEd that powers the CTA. Next slide, please. The proposed project for this site is Southbridge Phase 1C, the 3rd phase of the redevelopment, the former Harold Ickes Homes CHA community. Phase 1C consists of new construction of a transit-served high-rise mixed-use residential and commercial building at 2311 to 2315 South State Street. It contains 80 total studio, 1- and 2-bedroom dwelling units, and in amenity spaces, and approximately 1,500 square feet of ground floor commercial space. Construction of this approximately $49.1 million project is expected to commence in the 4th quarter of 25 and is expected to conclude in mid-2027. Next slide, please. Shown here is a rendering of the proposed development. The building will be constructed utilizing a deep concrete caisson foundation system, with slab on grade for the 1st floor and a poured-in-place concrete frame with concrete columns and flat plate concrete construction above. Interior demising walls will be steel frame non-bearing partition walls, and window systems will be pre-finished aluminum window walls. The 1st floor will contain approximately 1,500 square feet of commercial space. The building amenities include a gym, a club room, a penthouse deck, and bike parking at 1 space per unit. Residential units in the retail space will be accessed via separate entries on State Street. Residential amenity spaces are located on the ground floor and the top floor of the development. There is no parking included in the Southbridge 1C development program. The planned development provisions for this project were created in alignment with the CHA's, the Chicago Housing Authority's plan forward to establish a mixed-income, mixed-use community with stakeholders engaged since the early 2010s to shape this plan. The developer has held monthly meetings with the Southbridge Working Group, a group of public housing residents and representatives with an interest in the redevelopment of the former Ickes Homes community to discuss the project since the planned development's inception in 2017. Current design evolutions for Phase 1C came during reoccurring community stakeholders meetings starting in 2020, with the most recent meeting occurring on May 1st. Next slide, please. The project includes the transfer of city-owned property at a discount to market value and will be financed with various sources, including TIF funds from the city. The Illinois Housing Development Authority, also known as IDA, will act as senior lender with permanent financing of approximately $6,370,000. The Chicago Housing Authority will also provide soft funds in a subordinate loan of approximately $10 million. IDA will additionally provide additional soft funds of up to $5,945,716, as well as 9% low-income housing tax credits, which will raise equity of approximately $13,647,000 for the benefit of the transaction. City TIF funding of up to $11,800,870,154 from area-wide increment funds from the redevelopment project area will represent approximately 24% of the total project financing. TIF funding will be used to reimburse the developer for TIF-eligible project costs, including 50% of the cost of the construction of low-income and very low-income units in the project, related soft costs, and remediation costs, provided that the TIP funding will not be used to reimburse the developer for the market value of the acquired land. Other funding will consist of a Consular Energy Grant and proceeds from the sale of Illinois Affordable Housing Tax Credits, which are also known as donation tax credits. These tax credits will be allocated by IDA, and they are generated by the donation of the city-owned land valued at approximately $1,675,000. Donations can be in the form of land, long-term leases, or actual cash. And under the DTC program, donations are used to encourage private investment in housing transactions by providing donors qualified donations a one-time tax credit on their Illinois state income tax that's equal to 50% of the value of the donation. Donors can choose to transfer the credits to the project, which creates additional project financing, thus raising additional equity for the benefit of the transaction. A deferred developer fee, as well as a $10,000 contribution related to the transfer of the donation tax credits, and general partner equity contribution rounds out the financing for this project. Next slide, please. Southbridge Phase 1C will provide 80 total mixed income studio, 1 and 2 bedroom rental units available to households at the 30%, 60%, and 80% area median income levels, as well as market rate households. In total, there will be 13 units for CHA households with incomes between 0 and 30% of the AMI, or area median income, 16 units for CHA households with incomes under 60% AMI, 15 units for households meeting low-income housing tax credit requirements, and with incomes that are not greater than 80% of the area median income, and 36 units that will be leased without rent restrictions or income restrictions. Next slide, please. Unit sizes will range from 435 square feet or 459 square feet for a 0-bedroom studio unit, and from 626 square feet to 778 square feet for a 1-bedroom. All 2-bedroom units will be 934 square feet each. The 29 units reserved for CHA residents will have rents subsidized by project-based rental assistance, such that the tenant will pay 30% of their income as their contribution for rent. The vouchers will cover the difference between 30% of the tenant's income and the monthly rents shown here for the relevant units. Market rate unit rents will be set in accordance with supply and demand in the market area, and the affordable units that are not subsidized with vouchers have rents set at limits calculated with regards to calculated income limits in effect for the Chicago metropolitan area. Next slide, please. The co-developer partners sponsoring this project are the Community Builders Incorporated, also known as TCB, and McCaffrey Interests Incorporated. TCB is the majority stakeholder in control of the project-specific development entity, Southbridge 1C Housing LLC. It is the key member for day-to-day decision-making in key decisions like providing financial guarantees for the project. TCB is a not-for-profit real estate developer established in 1964 and headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. Regional offices in Chicago, Columbus, Ohio, and New York City, as well as Washington, D.C. TCB's ownership and management portfolio includes over 14,000 apartment homes across 15 states. Its mission is to build and sustain strong communities where people of all incomes can thrive. TCB is operating in Chicago for over 20 years, and it has successfully developed over 1,700 residential units in the city. TCB's recent projects in the city include the Oakwood Shores redevelopment of former Madden Wells CHA community properties across several phases. Southbridge phases 1A and 1B, which are directly across the street from the subject property, and the Canvas at Leland Plaza project, which is 63 affordable units at 4713 Northwestern Avenue. Co-developer partner McCaffrey Interests was founded in 1990. It's a privately owned full-service commercial real estate development and investment firm with over 3 decades experience and a portfolio that includes mixed-use commercial and residential properties in Chicago, Washington, D.C., Pittsburgh, and Denver. Project architecture team is a partnership of Gensler and Nia Architects. Gensler is a global architecture design and planning firm founded in 1965 and with a presence in over 50 offices worldwide. Gensler works across multiple sectors, including commercial, hospitality, workplace, education, and urban design. NIA Architects is a Chicago-based architecture and design firm founded in 1995 with a focus on affordable housing, mixed-use developments, educational facilities, and civic spaces. The general contractor is a joint venture of McHugh Construction and Powers and Sons. McHugh specializes in high-rise, large-scale urban projects with major developments like NEMA Chicago and Wolf Point West. Powers and Sons is a 5-decade-old firm and certified minority business enterprise with construction practice focused on affordable housing, civic, and community projects, including the city-funded Legend South, Northtown Library, and Rosenwald Courts developments. McHugh and Powers and Sons have previously joint ventured to construct projects at Navy Pier and projects related to the 2024 Democratic National Convention. Next slide, please. Shown here on this slide is an organizational chart depicting the structure of the project-specific entity, Southbridge 1C Housing LLC. Next slide, please. This project's city funding is structured in 3 to 4 cash installments during the development period, with one of those installments released at the certificate of completion milestone. Because TIF funds are reimbursement-based and no TIF funds are available at closing, these payments must be bridged with a loan during construction. The development will deliver 44 affordable rental units targeted to households earning between 30% and 80% of the area median income. These units will remain affordable for at least 30 years. The project must also meet standard City of Chicago construction compliance requirements, including prevailing wage, minority and women-owned business, enterprise participation, and city residency hiring goals. Next slide, please. As to key project outcomes, this project will deliver 80 units of housing, with 44 of those units affordable to households earning between 30% and 80% of the area median income. As previously mentioned, of those units, 29 will be set aside for Chicago Housing Authority. Additionally, the development will return a tax-exempt property to the tax rolls, generating new property tax revenue for the city. It is estimated the project will create approximately 90 construction jobs and 7 permanent jobs. The project team is committed to meeting and exceeding the city's affirmative action goals as well, including 26% minority and 6% women-owned business participation, and ensuring that at least 50% of the workforce comes from Chicago residents. Alderman Dowell is aware of this project and, as mentioned previously, has provided a letter of support for this project as well. Next slide, please. To recap, the proposed transaction before you requests authority for the Department of Housing to negotiate a redevelopment agreement, land sale agreement with Southbridge 1C Housing LLC or a related entity for the redevelopment of the property located at 2311 to 2315 South State Street, also known as 3 to 5 East 23rd Street, in the 24th and Michigan redevelopment project area. We recommend to the City Council the designation of Southbridge 1C Housing LLC or a related entity as developer. From TCB, we have Will Woodley, Senior Vice President of Real Estate Development, and Ben Andrews, Development Project Manager, present, as well as representatives from the Chicago Housing Authority and from Powers and Sons in attendance to address any questions the Commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you. If present, I would like to recognize Alderman Dow, or her staff, and invite them to make a statement on the project. We have received Alderman Dow's letter of support. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Lewis regarding this presentation?
Yeah.
Secretary,
There might be a question for the Department of Housing or for the developers. I know that there's a lot of interest in the number of CHA units total. Can you tell us how many total units there will be with the previous development and this new one?
The CHA units in particular.
Specifically the CHA unit.
I don't have the number handy for phase 1A and 1B. Each phase 1A and 1B, each was 103 units in total, 206 in aggregate. Each unit mix for these CHA redevelopments is conceived as about a third affordable, a third market rate, a third public housing. I'll have to defer to my associates from TCB to add any specifics to that, but I believe we have that sort of breakdown for 1A, 1B, and that is the standard that is going to be in place for all subsequent redevelopment phases of Southbridge.
Mr. Lewis, did you say someone from CHA was here?
Yes, hi.
Please, state your name,
Hi,
title before you speak.
good afternoon. Alam Khoury, Director of Development with the CHA, and I do have that number for you. So phase 1A and 1B, there were a total of 68 CHA units. And for this project, 29, so that would be a total of 97.
Thank you very much. And another question, are there other planned developments of Southbridge after this one?
Yes, the redevelopment plan for the Ickes community calls for several hundred units to be delivered in total as part of that overall effort. Noting that 206 units have been provided to date and another 80 are slated under this proposal. There will be several additional rental development phases of Southbridge to meet the goal, which I'll have to defer to TCB as to the specific number, but I believe it's at least 700 rental units that have to be delivered as part of the overall plan. So yes, there are future phases, and I would ask Ben Andrews from TCB to add any additional detail on that.
If you could, Mr. Andrews, if you could state your name and where you're from before you speak and anytime you speak.
Ben Andrews, Development Project Manager with the Community Builders. So just building off what Joe said, yes, we do have plans for future phases that will complete the entire length. So it's a vacant parcel of area to the north as well as to the south. But we're mostly focused on right now to continue phases forward to complete the rest of the block that includes 1A, 1B. So if you look at the map previously or other times, on the other side of 1A, 1B, there is some vacant land on that side, so we're considering a rental phase going forward on the other side of 1A, and then a for sale concept to the south of that to complete phase 1, which would be 1C, 1A, 1B.
I just want to note that, does that affect the land that, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I just want to, ask, whether it affects the land that was already committed to the Chicago Public Schools for a school?
My understanding is that the remaining undeveloped sites of Southbridge have no relation to Chicago Public Schools.
They're
They are-
separate parcels.
Correct. This is the only phase of the Southbridge redevelopment efforts that involves parcels owned by an entity other than the Chicago Housing Authority. This is an instance where the city actually owns. And if I could just supplement too, I have a bit more detail to provide about the redevelopment of the Ickes homes and the requirements under that plan. The CHA agreement for the Ickes home redevelopment requires that not fewer than 867 new units be constructed in total, of which 757 will be rental and 110 will be homeownership.
Thank you.
Commissioners, questions?
I have a question for construction team, Powers. Yes, it said 50% city construction. Is that city owned folks? I mean, city companies that are going to participate in the construction, 50%? How is that when you bid out your jobs, how does that work for residents who may participate, maybe for hiring local companies to be part of it? How does your structure work?
So I'm Kelly Powers Korea, Executive Vice President of Powers and Sons Construction. I think, are you referring to the 50% City of Chicago resident requirement?
Yes.
Yes. So the way we have done it historically on our projects is we host outreach events in partnership with the alderperson to try to reach local individuals who are in the area and interested in participating in the project. We bring our subcontractors along with us who have positions that are available. And we make ourselves available for them to come by and meet us and meet our subcontractors before we get going on the project. I think you also asked about local contractor participation.
Local, the reason why I'm asking is how do you track it and how actually, how many are hired? Because I understand they do job fairs, I understand that they bring in folks in, but who tracks it and who tracks the subs that they make sure that they do hire
Yes.
from within the community?
So for our project, the compliance officer is on Powers and Sons team. So her name's Danielle Thomas, and she's done this for us on over double digits worth of projects with City of Chicago or CHA participation. So we track everything through certified payrolls using LCP Tracker, B2G Now, and the reports that are required to go to the City of Chicago. She is very vigilant and very much make sure that we do what we are supposed to do when it comes to hiring, both for businesses and for individuals. And so she is a bulldog when it comes to that, to making sure that folks are getting the right opportunities and we're reporting back on what we're actually doing.
Especially with union companies that sometimes have certain restrictions.
Yes. Yes, we're a union contractor, so we're used to having to navigate that added challenge. Sometimes it means you have to be a little bit more creative because we have that restriction. But we also have had, in the past, we've had folks sometimes if there may be an administrative job where we can offer support. We've done that in the past on one of our projects, actually at Legends. We try to be creative and find opportunities so that, from my perspective, it's always important that we're building with the neighborhood and with the community and not just for. There's a very difference in, how you approach it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Sayas? Commissioner Gomez?
Yes, thank you. Question about the 80 units, are the 80 units going to be all rentals or will they be owned? What's the?
This is Joe Lewis from the Department of Housing. The 80 units proposed for Southbridge Phase 1C will exclusively be rentals. Home ownership opportunities are planned for forthcoming phases of the overall Ickes redevelopment plan, but there is no home ownership opportunities present within this.
And no available to rent to own option, it's strictly.
It should be noted to the question of rent to own, this project is getting low-income housing tax credits from the state of Illinois, which those tax credits require that an investor take a significant equity ownership interest in the project for at least 15 years. So they're really, the property has to sort of operate as that, in that low income rental mode for at least 15 years as a result.
And then was there, I'm sure there was a study done prior to, I saw that there was 0 or no 3-bedroom units and it was a school nearby. I'm just wondering, children, is this not geared for families?
Ultimately, I can maybe ask the representative from the CHA to expand on this answer a bit, but my understanding is that the CHA's waiting list has very little actual demand for bedrooms that are larger than 2. It's perhaps 20% of the overall waiting list is for bedrooms larger than 2 bedrooms.
Just funny.
But I would defer to the CHA. to
Please
expand
state
on
your
that.
name
Hi.
and your title before you speak.
Hi, Alam Corey, Director of Development with the CHA. Joe is correct. The majority of our wait lists, actually, it's probably a little bit over 80% require 1 and 2 bedrooms. So in this building, which is a high-rise building, we don't like putting families in an elevator building like this. So that's why we're looking for 1 and 2 bedrooms in this phase. On the CHA land across the street, sort of the next phase is an opportunity to do larger units, 3 bedrooms, because you want those in lower density buildings.
My last one, I think I bring it up most of the time. To the point of the reporting and the affirmative action goals, I don't know where they end up going. Who tracks and publishes the results of that once the contractor submits it, or is it the developer that publishes it or sends it? Where does it go?
Joe Lewis from the Department of Housing. The Department of Housing Construction Compliance Division will monitor all short-term activities during construction and obligations pertaining to those activities related to minority, women business enterprise participation, the Chicago residency requirements, participation requirements, Illinois prevailing wage, and yeah, those are the three major areas that they will monitor. As the representative Powers and Sons mentioned, the GC will be required to submit compliance information on a regular basis, which will be received by personnel at the Department of Housing who will track the progress toward their goals. Typically, we do not issue a certificate of completion for the TIF funds until we closed out those obligations as well. So there is a holdback of funding. One of the installments of TIF funds is actually held back until all those loose ends are tied up for short-term monitoring and that we have all information we need to support that they've met the obligation.
Okay, and just to follow up on that, so Department of Housing handles all the affirmative action compliance. So they're not just receiving the reports, but they're actually monitoring, so if there is a discrepancy or if they're trending that they're not meeting goals, they have the authority to also step in to ensure that there is compliance or request a plan of how they're going to meet the compliance?
Yes, the Department of Housing does, so Joe Lewis from the Department of Housing again. So the Department of Housing does track these items. If there's a deficiency along the way, that will be noted and reported to the developer. There are consequences for certain deficiencies, perhaps liquidated damages is the sort of ultimate consequence there, where there's monetary restitution to the city in exchange for not meeting those obligations. But as those discrepancies arise with regular reporting, they will be identified. And again, as a condition of getting the last installment of funds, rectifying those situations, ideally by being in compliance from the outset, or otherwise making the appropriate remedy to the city by way of financial restitution or otherwise, that will need to be in place before we release the final installment of funds.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner, questions?
Just one. There's been a lot of talk about per unit costs on some of these affordable deals. This one seems a lot more reasonable than what folks have been reading about. Is there anything that you point to in terms of what drove that on this deal?
I would point first to economies of scale. We're talking about a larger, more dense development compared to, say, something that's 30 units. So some of the more fixed costs that you see deal to deal, regardless of scale, are more spread out over a larger scale project compared to a smaller scale. And so therefore you don't see a per unit number higher. I would also note that as a 9% LIHTC transaction, it's a fairly straightforward capital stack in this space, as straightforward as it can be in the affordable housing space. As a result of that, there's less need to coordinate with multiple, like subject matter experts and professionals to put together a more exotic deal structure, as has been the case in some deals to make them pencil out over time as well. I would additionally note that in this instance, we've been sort of able to keep the design deliberations. They were well-defined and discrete design process that wasn't open-ended. So there was a sense where we settled on the actual program for the project earlier, and therefore we're able to not have to send this back to the drawing board and incur that additional cost for the project. Apart from these points, I would maybe ask the representative from TCB to maybe expand on these points as well.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Andrews, development project manager, so I think I got it. Everything that Joe said, I definitely echo. I would just add maybe 2 points. This is admittedly a smaller, more compact floor plate. So, typically I think affordable projects have a little bit larger floor plates, and that per unit cost kind of mirrors that efficiency, we'll say. And then we've also not, because it's in tune with the development plans for this corner, we only have 1,500 square feet of commercial. So I've seen quite a few other projects that have larger demands and requests, right? Just because we think it's the right call to have something a little bit more efficient and compact in the corner, that also doesn't add to the per unit cost that I think I've seen with the projects before.
And Commissioner Johnson, that concludes your questions? Questions, Commissioner? Okay, I have a few. Is this a new market tax credit deal?
It is not.
So, will the city, use a loan product to, for the funds they're contributing?
Yes, we have proposed structuring the city's TIP participation in the form of a loan that would be held by the city rather than as a grant. And we are proceeding with that structure.
Good. I think I heard that, the city Department of Housing is providing funds for soft costs as well. Is that in addition to the TIF funds?
The only form of city participation on this transaction, financial participation, is the tax increment financing participation. We are, to that, or in other words, there is no other source of funds from the city. The TIF will be, of course, reimbursement based, so it will sort of cover, refinancing of interim financing that's used to pay the project.
Okay, so I thought I heard something about soft costs in the city, which caught my eye. Thankfully, I didn't hear that correctly. Questions, Commissioner?
Yeah,
Commissioner Bobright?
Yeah, can you share, Joe, construction timing, assuming that this passes and all other financing is secure? Can you just remind the full commission on when the project is slated to start and complete?
Yes, we are working toward a construction start in the fourth quarter. More specifically, we plug November 2025 as the target date for construction start. We expect that we can reach the financial closing milestone that's necessary to start construction by that time. We expect an approximately 18-month development, construction period. As a result, that's where July 2027 would land as far as that 18-month period is concerned. If we are able to hit that deadline or hit those timelines, then I would imagine that the project would be leasing up in the third quarter of 2027.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further questions or comments regarding the matter before us, I will call this item to a vote. The resolution before us is the Department of Housing is seeking the commission to grant authority to the Department of Housing to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Southbridge 1C Housing LLC or a related entity for the redevelopment of the property located at 2311 to 2315 South State, also known as 3 to 5 East 23rd Street in the 24th Michigan redevelopment area, and for the commission to grant authority to the Department of Housing to negotiate a land sale agreement with Southbridge 1C Housing LLC or a related entity or an entity acceptable to the Commissioner of Housing for the disposition of the property located at 2311 to 2315 South State Street, also known as 3 to 5 East 23rd Street, within the 24th Michigan redevelopment project area. And for the commission to recommend to city council the designation of Southbridge 1C Housing LLC or a related entity as developer. If there are no objections, I move passage of this item by the same roll call vote previously used to establish quorum. Hearing no objections, the motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, second item. Item B, LaSalle Central Redevelopment Project Area in the 34th Ward. Commissioners, for the last item of new business of today's agenda, the Department of Planning and Development is requesting the commission to grant authority to the Department of Planning and Development to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with 105 Adams Development LLC for the redevelopment of the property located at 105 West Adams Street in the LaSalle Central Redevelopment Project area. And for the commission to recommend to the city council the designation of 105 Adams Development LLC as developer. I can't remember who you. Michael Carey and Jeff Cohen will present a brief description of this request on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Thomas and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Mike Carey, and I'm a financial planning analyst with the Department of Planning and Development. I am joined today by members of the development and ownership team, including Gabriel Martinez and Zach Wakeman, as well as representatives from their interdisciplinary team. The resolution before you requests a recommendation to the City Council to designate 105 Adams Development LLC or its affiliates as the developer for the project located at 105 West Adams Street, and the authority for the Department of Planning and Development to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the developer. Next slide, please. The Clark Adams Building is located at 105 West Adams Street, which is in the 34th Ward, the Loop Community Area, the LaSalle Central TIF District, and the Central Planning Region. The Alderman is William Conway, who has provided a letter of support for the project, along with FOMA Chicago, Chicago Central Area Committee, Chicago Loop Alliance, Landmarks Illinois, and Preservation Chicago. Next slide, please. Here's an overhead view of the neighborhood. The project site is highlighted in red and located on the west side of South Clark Street, just to the south of West Adams Street. The project is highly transit accessible with access to the brown, orange, pink, and purple lines via the Quincy and LaSalle Van Buren stations, and the blue line via the Monroe and Jackson stations. The location is also served by multiple bus routes that connect the loop to nearly all neighborhoods. Next slide, please. These side-by-side photos show the existing conditions of the eastward-facing facade from Clark Street looking north and Adams Street looking west. As you can see, the facade and exteriors need significant attention in order to restore them. Next slide, please. Here are the photos highlighting the two entrances to the building. The first photo shows the entrance to the Club Quarters Hotel along West Adams Street, which encompasses floors 3 through 10 of the building and are not included in this project. The second photo shows the main entrance to the property along South Clark Street, which will be used to access the residencies located on floors 11 through 40 once completed. Next slide, please. Here are photos showing the various current conditions of the interior of the building, including a finished office space, vacant office space, and demoed raw space. Next slide, please. The developer of the project is 105 Adams Development LLC, a special purpose entity created for the redevelopment of 105 West Adams. Its members include Gabriel Martinez, Zach Wakeman, and Mark Calabria. Primera Group, which is serving as lead developer, was founded in 2011 by Gabriel Martinez and has an extensive project history, including build-to-suit developments for billion-dollar corporations, and has also successfully rehabilitated a portfolio of multifamily properties serving affordable and market-rate tenants. The developer has also assembled an extensive interdisciplinary team for the project that includes Toro Construction, Papa George Haynes, Johnson Research Group, Power Strategies, and Taft Law Firm. Next slide, please. The project will renovate approximately 400,000 square feet of the 98-year-old Burnham Brothers designed Clark Adams building into 400 new residential units, 30% of which will be affordable. The office to residential conversion will also feature amenities on the 24th floor, including a fitness center, communal space, and an outdoor patio. The developer will also reposition space on the ground and mezzanine levels for commercial or retail use, with the aim of attracting a small format grocer. Additionally, a minimum of 195 and up to 400 bicycle parking spaces will be installed for the residents. The total project cost is $183.5 million, supported by $67.5 million in TIF from the LaSalle Central TIF. Project is estimated to begin in January 2026 and end in June 2027. Next slide, please. This slide provides a comparison of the current exterior facade and a restored facade. The exterior of the building is comprised of largely brick and limestone with terracotta accents. The building is clad in granite and stone at the base, while upper stories are covered in buff brick cladding with decorative stone and terracotta that reflects Art Deco and Classical Revival design motifs. The building exterior varies from fair to good condition, with isolated areas of the facade in poor condition. In addition to masonry repair work on the exterior walls, extensive cleaning of the brick is needed. Next slide, please. The second rendering slide shows a side-by-side of the current Clark Street lobby and its proposed rehabilitation to better serve residents and provide a more welcoming experience. Next slide, please. The project will be financed through a mix of equity, debt, historic tax credits, and TIF funding. The anticipated scope of the project includes the full conversion of the interior from office to residential, the amenities floor, modernization of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems, repointing and replacement of damaged masonry, and cleaning up the facade. Next slide, please. As mentioned, the redevelopment will total 400 units, 121 of which are designated ARO units. The proposed ARO unit mix presents a range of affordability options from 30% to 80% AMI, averaging 60% AMI across 59 studios, 37 one-bedrooms, and 25 two-bedroom units. The remaining 279 units are designated as market rate and will consist of 136 studio, 85 one-bedroom, and 58 two-bedroom units. In total, the redevelopment will deliver 195 studios, 122 one-bedrooms, and 83 two-bedroom units. Next slide, please. The proposed affordable studio apartments will range from 425 to 600 square feet, with asking rents from $749 to $1,219. Market rate unit sizes will range from 400 square feet with a proposed asking rent of $2,246 to $2,246. Proposed affordable one-bedroom apartments will range from 450 to 800 square feet, asking rents from $794 to $1,424. Market rate size will range from 450 to 925 square feet, with proposed asking rent of $2,822. The proposed affordable two-bedroom unit apartments will range from 850 to 1,160 square feet, with asking rents from $951 to $1,707. Market rate size will range from 670 to 1,160 square feet, with proposed asking rent $3,436. Next slide, please. The redevelopment of 105 West Adams provides numerous public benefits, including the repositioning of 400,000 square feet of vacant and obsolete office space and creation of 121 affordable residential units. A developer, majority owned by a minority, that is also dedicated to assembling a diverse, interdisciplinary team of minority and women business enterprises. Exceeding the standard of 26% MBE and 6% WBE participation, renovation and rehabilitation of an architecturally significant property and future Chicago landmark, creation of 15 permanent full-time jobs and approximately 300 temporary construction jobs, a range of pricing options for potential tenants that can service multiple socioeconomic strata, identifying a small format grocer to provide fresh food and grocery options to the local community. Next slide, please. TIF funds will be reimbursed to the developer either as a 100% reimbursement and certificate of completion or progress payments during the construction period of 50% upon the expenditure of 50% completion total project cost, 25% upon the expenditure of 75% completion total project cost, and 25% of the city of Chicago, after the city of Chicago has issued a certificate of completion. The city will also mitigate risk with a recapture mortgage. The developer will be subject to a flip provision and profit sharing arrangement. There will also be a 30-year inclusionary housing agreement for the affordable residential ordinance units guaranteeing long-term affordable options at the property and typical construction compliance requirements for prevailing wage, MWBE, and city residency. Developer will aspire to exceed the standard 26%, 6% level. Next slide. DPD has thoroughly reviewed the proposed project, the qualifications of the development team, and the need for public assistance. DPD recommends that the Community Development Commission approve the designation of 105 Adams Development LLC or its affiliates as developer for 105 West Adams Street so that the project can advance to City Council. I'd like to thank the Commission for its favorable consideration of this request. Again, I am joined by ownership along with representatives of their interdisciplinary team, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Carey. If present, I would like to recognize Alderman Conway or his staff and invite them to make a statement on the project. We are in receipt of this letter of support. Commissioners, do you have any questions of Mr. Carey regarding this request for the, by the Department of Planning and Development? Commissioners?
I think, Thank you.
Commissioner Gomez.
Thank you, Chair. Similar question, is this also going to be monitored and tracked by the Department of Housing? What does that look like?
Yeah, I can answer that. Jeff Cullen, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Planning and Development. So the way that these projects are monitored is first with the construction compliance team from the DOH, and then for the long-term aspect, once the certificate is received by the DPD monitoring and compliance group. So upon starting construction, similar to the last project you heard, the general contractor needs to submit to DOH construction compliance through the B2G and LCP tracker systems. And those are monitored for the participation at the varying levels for minority and women business enterprise participation.
Jeff, can you repeat your title and department?
Yes, sorry, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Planning and Development.
Questions, Commissioner?
A comment and a question. We're actually very excited that there are so many units that can come online. What is the timeline completion for start and completion?
Yeah, the start of construction is scheduled for January 26th and completion in June of 27.
The person who just spoke, please.
Sorry, Jeffrey Cohen, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Planning and Development.
Secretary Chairman Gibbons, any other questions?
And no other question.
Commissioner, Commissioner, Albright.
Yeah, I would love for the development team to talk a little bit about you all's MBE, WBE aspirational goals, much higher than our typical requires in 26.6. And so it'd be great for you all to kind of share a little bit about your outreach and how you all are going to strive to meet the 35% MBE, 12% WBE with the full commission.
Please say your name, title, and what company before you speak. Thank you.
I am Socorro Vasquez, CEO of Toro Construction. Thank you so much for meeting with us today. Our company is minority owned. I am the sole owner, and we take very seriously our commitment to meeting these numbers. We've always gone above and beyond the 26 and 6, and we will continue to do so. We have community outreach programs, as our previous speaker here, and job fairs. Those are led by Samantha Nunez, who's our workforce development pro. We are also, being a union company, we follow LCP tracker and certified payroll for all projects.
And if I could just say for the record, this is one of our largest in terms of unit count, LaSalle conversion project. So I'm excited to see the team, to see the commitment, And most importantly, to see a building, converted in so many units, coming in, assuming that this is approved today, moving forward.
If there are no further questions or comments regarding the matter before us, I will call this item to a vote. The resolution before us is the Department of Planning and Development is seeking the convention to grant authority to the Department of Planning and Development to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with 105 Adams Development LLC for the redevelopment of the property located at 105 West Adams Street in the LaSalle Central Redevelopment Project area, and for the commission to recommend to the city council the designation of 105 Adams Development LLC as the developer. If there are no objections, I will passage of this item by the same roll call vote previously used to establish quorum. Hearing none, the motion is approved. Commissioners, that was our last item on today's agenda. If there are no further questions or comments, I move to adjourn the May 13th meeting of the Community Development Commission by the same roll call vote previously used to establish quorum. Hearing no objections, we are adjourned.
Yeah.